I would like to call to order the City of Portage Planning Commission meeting for today, Monday, June 2nd. If you would stand and say the pledge. Mr. Cherry, could you call roll?
Victor Mendoza, Melissa Weidenbach,
Here.
Brent Wright,
Here.
Carissa Childers, Sam LeBoy,
Here.
Deb Ekdahl,
Here.
Denise Little,
Here.
Victoria Vasquez,
Present.
Alonzo Garcia.
Here.
If everybody's had an opportunity to look at the minutes, if there are no corrections or additions, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 7th meeting.
We have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any oh, wait. We needed two motions for minutes. Okay, just the April 7th. Okay. Everybody has received an email about our trying to plan for a training session. Has everybody responded? Okay. Anything else, Tom, on your side?
No, that was it.
If you could call our first order of business.
P-02-25, Cap Properties LLC, care of Richard Piazza with Haven March, 17 North Washington Street, Valparaiso, Indiana, seeking primary plat for 8 lots and 1 outlot for Jenny's Landing subdivision at 5740 US Highway 6.
Good evening.
Good evening, members. Thank you for taking the time tonight. Rich Piazza with Crowell Avonmarsh. We're here seeking primary plat for a parcel of land that is located on US Route 6 between Swanson and Ash on the north side of the road. It's currently zoned C2. It's 23.68 acres. We are planning to have 8 developable lots with 1 outlot. The outlot will be a drainage and utility easement for the entire subdivision.
Thank you. Does that complete your presentation?
It does.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If not, I close the public hearing and open for questions from the commission. Just one thing that the commission may not know, could you or would you explain that it is going to be solely owned and not dedicated to the city?
So for the public roadways, there will not be public, and the sanitary and storm sewers will be also owned by the developer, as we proposed to you guys. The Route 6 entrance will be lined up.
Sir,
with-
could you speak up, or maybe we can have some help with the microphone? People in the audiences are having a hard time hearing.
The entrance to Route 6 for the main thoroughfare will be lined up with the entrance to Aldi's. We are working with NDOT currently on that as we speak still, as one of the permits that we are still in need of. So I'm looking for an approval contingent upon receiving the NDOT permits that are required.
What exactly is going here? I might have missed it. I'm sorry.
Right now, there are a few potential clients, but nothing is official. It's a commercial development. There are no official signed contracts for the land right now. It is only a commercial development as it stands right now. There are a few potential clients out there, but nothing is official.
As you stated, we only have 2 contingencies, the NDOT approval, as well as, I'm not sure you're seeing, but we just ask that you recheck those catch basins and make sure that they line up with Portage standard details as far as sumps. We got the common response last time and it just said all sumps are removed. We just ask that you look back and make sure the sumps are where we require them to be, in all catch basins, et cetera.
We will make sure that we meet the standards.
If there's no other questions, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the commercial 8 lots plus 1 outlot division contingent upon the NDOT approval and the petitioner providing a copy of the NDOT permit to the planning department and submission of revised plans showing sumps and catch basins per the city of Portage standard detail sheets.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Cherry, could you call roll?
Melissa Weidenbach,
No.
Brent Wright,
Yes.
Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Deb Ekdahl,
Yes.
Denise Little,
Yes.
Victoria Vasquez,
Yes.
Alonso Garcia.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're the next case, so we're not going anywhere.
Thanks, Todd.
I'm sorry.
No way.
Next, new business, S-04-25, Cap Properties LLC, care of Richard Piazza, Evan March Consulting, 111 East 3rd Street, Hobart, Indiana, seeking secondary plat for 8 lots plus 1 outlot in Jenny's Landing, consisting of approximately 23.68 acres at 5740 US Highway 6.
Good evening. Once again, we're here to seek secondary approval for the project you just heard about. If you guys have any other questions, we can answer those as well.
Question for the petitioner? If there's no question,
So looking at this, how's the access to lot 1, 2, and 3? Because the road stops and comes back, it looks like to Route 6, so it looks like there's 2 entrances, at least on the drawing I'm looking at. I might be looking at the wrong one.
So access for 1, 2, and 3 come off Clark Street, which is going to be the new entrance that lines up with Aldi. And then Addison and Bernice will go across and connect all the way back to Lot 7.
Oh, okay, so Clark goes all the way through lot 8, basically on the west side, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, sorry.
questions? If no questions, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion approving the secondary plat request contingent upon NDOT approval and approval of primary plat.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Cherry, could you call roll?
No.
Brent Wright,
Yes.
Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Deb Ekdahl,
Yes.
Denise Little,
Yes.
Victoria Vasquez,
Yes.
Alonso Garcia.
Yes.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very
so
much.
Mr. Cherry, could you call our next new business public hearing?
Next, order of new business, Z-03-25, Habitat for Humanity of Porter County, care of Jessica Vargas, 2411 Beach Street, Suite L, Valparaiso, Indiana, requesting a change of zoning from R2 low-density residential to R4 city core residential, consisting of 2 acres plus or minus at 2240 Chrisman Road.
Good evening. And before we start, has everybody had the opportunity to see this in your packets? What I'd like you to do is turn it around so that the audience can see it.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Good evening. My name is Jessica Vargas. I am the president of the Porter County Habitat Board for our affiliate, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to our proposal this evening. As Tom said, we are petitioning to change from an R2 to an R4 single-family residential zone. We are doing this for the main purpose of being able to increase the density of the lot. This is the old Chrisman School property. The City of Portage Planning Department and Mayor have been working with Habitat for Humanity to find parcels within the city that can be good locations for affordable housing for the community. As we all know, there is a housing crisis, and affordable housing is one of the major lacks in communities, especially in Porter County. So we have been working with the city to find the best use for this land, and we think we have found that. And currently, the zoning would allow us to put 6 houses on the parcel. We're asking to increase density to allow for 8 houses on the parcel, and the intention is to actually line Portage Ave and Chrisman with houses, and then there would be a out parcel in the back that would be used for stormwater detention, and also be given back to the city for use for any kind of parks department use that they could see fit for that area to benefit the community that it's adjacent to. Just real quickly to talk about the project, you can see the conceptual plan that was prepared by Marsh. That's why Rich is up here with me. He's our engineer on the project who's working with us on this project. As you can see, we're looking to put 8 parcels on there with that outlet, like I said. The homes would be typical of our Habitat builds. They're usually 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom homes for potential future homeowners, partner families who partner with Habitat on the builds. Our investment in this project, we estimate that we're going to be putting roughly $270,000 into engineering and infrastructure for the project, for the homes, which is sewer, water lines, the tap fees, getting the electrical positioned properly and gas lines, and then also stormwater engineering and detention so that we are good neighbors and we don't have any detrimental impact to the surrounding parcels. So we're working with the planning department and with Marsh on getting that done. Our typical homes average in cost from a 2-bedroom home, it could be $220,000, and 3-bedroom homes we're running around about $250,000 to $260,000 on the out-of-pocket cost that Habitat puts into those, including the land, in-kind donations from our partners within the community that donate labor and time materials to us on the builds. So we're looking at a total investment of around $1.9 million in this project that we would be putting into the city. Our appraised values actually come in very close to market value, so we are not creating subpar housing, we are creating market value housing. Our last house in Valparaiso actually just appraised for over $300,000, so we are not below market value by any means. We would assume that the 2-bedroom homes here would appraise somewhere between $250,000 and $270,000, where the 3-bedroom homes would be between $280,000 and $300,000. So that is a community value add of roughly $2.2 million when you do the math. So we are definitely adding value to the community. Just some things, I feel like there's a learning curve when it comes to Habitat. Not everybody understands how we work or what we're all about. So I thought I would just real quickly go through a couple things about Habitat that most of the people don't know if you haven't worked with us before, but we partner with individuals and families that are in need to build homes, often involving local volunteers and community support. We work to create safe and stable places for families to call home, fostering a sense of belonging and community. Habitat for Humanity's focus is to provide affordable housing and promote community development. The positive impact of decent housing on health, education, and economic opportunities highlights the role Habitat plays in building strong, stable communities and fostering self-reliance among families. We all know that affordable housing is in critical need right now, and Habitat emphasizes our role by creating decent and affordable houses to improve the lives of individuals and families. And Studies have shown that Habitat homeowners and their families show better financial health, parents who are more confident about meeting their family's needs, and even improved grades for their children since purchasing a Habitat home compared to the living situation that they were in prior to getting a home. 65% report better physical health. 80% of children's grades improve when they are actually in a home owned instead of a rental situation. 94% of homeowners feel safe in their homes, and 98% said that owning a home improved how they felt about themselves. And we also help with economic stability, with 57% of families being able to save more money because they're in a more affordable home. And those dollars can go towards other needs that the family has. Habitat argues that affordable housing is essential for creating strong and stable communities where people can thrive, and that's what we're looking to do here in Portage, is help the community thrive and help the families that want to be part of Portage's community thrive within it. We also focus on community involvement and partnerships, so Habitat emphasizes the importance of community involvement in their mission, working with local volunteers, donors, businesses, and other organizations. We foster partnerships with individuals, corporations, faith groups, and other organizations to provide financial support, materials, and labor for the home construction. We advocate for policies within the community. We help influence policies and systems to improve access to land for shelter, as well as to advocate for broader access to safe and sound credit for underserved populations. Decent and affordable shelter provides families with a place to gather and grow. Even more, by working with Habitat to achieve affordable home ownership, families can transform their lives. Affordable home ownership helps create the conditions that free families from stress and fear, helping build stability and confidence. Studies show that strong and stable households are foundations to child development and growth, and when a home fosters instead of hinders health and safety, families can flourish. Owning an affordable home also allows homeowners to lift up their entire family by saving for their futures and investing in educational opportunities, which bolsters job opportunities and long-term career growth. Whenever we work, we witness tangible evidence that decent, affordable shelter creates long-lasting and life-changing impact on families and communities. Something else people don't know is how the financial model of Habitat works. We do not give away houses. Instead, we offer affordable mortgages with 0% interest and manageable monthly payments that are based on the financial ability of the homeowners that we partner with. We require all of our homeowners to put in sweat equity hours. They are empowered by Habitat to take on responsibilities of home ownership, including routine repairs and upkeep. Families contribute sweat equity by participating in construction, helping with other tasks, and attending homeowner classes. It also encourages community engagement by building a sense of ownership and responsibility within the community that they're becoming a part of. All future Habitat homeowners receive financial education to manage their mortgages and understand the benefits of long-term home ownership. This education helps them budget and save, preparing them to successfully manage their homes and finances. And Habitat aims to close the gap in financial education for vulnerable groups, ensuring more equitable access to home ownership. Habitat's approach helps families forge a path out of poverty and achieve financial freedom. Homeowners often pay less in housing costs and have more money to spend on other needs, and studies show that Habitat homeowners can significantly reduce their reliance on government assistance programs. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands the Habitat model and what we are really doing when we come into a community, because we have exponential benefits, not just to the homeowners that we are building for, but to the community that they become a part of. So if there's any questions or anything I can help anyone understand better, I'd be
Well,
happy
now
to do that.
open for the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? And if you would sign the sign-in sheet for Z-03-25.
Reverend Michael Cooper, 5455 Clem Road, here in Portage. I want to speak tonight in favor of this request from Habitat for Humanity. Though my words of praise would pale in comparison to those of the late President Jimmy Carter, who had a great passion for Habitat for Humanity. And in the book, If I Had a Hammer, Jimmy Carter wrote this: "The great gift of Habitat for Humanity is that it offers us a way to reach out to fellow humans who don't have a decent place in which to live. In fact, it is the best way that I know to live out the highest moral values of my faith, because Habitat sees decent housing as a human right." I believe this is a great opportunity here in Portage for the city and the residents of Portage to partner with this organization, because it will do, I think, several things. It would work on the housing disparity that we have here in Portage. It will also increase our civic dignity, as Portage has a long history of systemic problems within our communities. And also, it will assist some of our Portage residents in order for them to move into a family housing that is adequate and sustainable as they work to build their home here in our great city. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? And if you would go ahead and sign in on the sheet 0325.
Good evening. My name is Luke Wyman. I've been a resident here in Portage since 1977. Okay. Sam LeBoyd knows me for probably 20 or more years. So, and he knows that when I get involved with something, it's got to be something good. Okay. I've been with Habitat for about 5.5, 6 years. Okay. I got to build 9 houses with them from scratch. We start from foundation and build up. We don't work on old homes, we build new homes, okay, from the ground up, all right? This is not the first time we're in Portage, okay? Over the last 5 years, we've built, I believe, 4 houses here in Portage, if my memory serves me correct, okay? 4 houses since I've been involved, Tom. So, one on Pennsylvania Street was my first one, and the thing I like about Habitat is Tom always uses this phrase, I don't know if he coined it or what, it's a hand up, not a handout, okay? We help people move along in their life, become a homeowner, okay? Contribute to society, right? They get to pay taxes, all this kind of stuff they have to do like everybody else, okay? From what I understand, in the 33 homes, I believe is the number that we've built over the years that Porter County has built, and again, we're Habitat of Porter County, not Habitat of Northwest Indiana. That's Lake County, okay? So just so you know, there's a difference there, okay? I believe that only one house was ever turned back to Habitat, and the only reason it was turned back is because that person got a better job in Arizona, okay? So they had to move, okay? So the homeowners actually can't sell their house, okay? They can leave. They'll get some of their equity out of it possibly, if there's any equity built up in it, okay? But they just can't sell their house, and they have to go through us before that can happen. And our team knows better how that works than I do, okay? But this is just things I've learned over the last 5 years of why I like working it, because it really is a hand up, okay? As I said, we're not the first time here. It's not something new for Portage. What's kind of new is the size of this project, okay? We often get land donated to us, or often enough, and that's the best way to help us out, one of the best ways, all right? But it's just size of this project, because we're building, I don't really know, 9 houses, 8 houses? 8 houses, so, and I'm sure I'll be involved with those, okay? I think for Portage, it's great, I really do. Because we're going to get people here that will become a homeowner, okay? These are, I'll tell you, the quality of these houses is amazing, okay? We pass inspections with flying colors, okay? They're sound houses. I mean, we pass air inspections, quality air inspections, so they're insulated extremely well. So when we build them, we build extremely efficient, okay? Because they're insulated very, very well. We pass several tests and often get awards when they're available because of that, okay? So I am 100% for this. I am a member of Habit, don't get me wrong, in case you missed that, so, but that's not the reason why, okay? I would live in a house like this anytime. And for a first house for somebody, it's an outstanding opportunity for somebody. And to be in Portage, I mean, I love Portage, been here all my life, so, not all my life, but since '77. So it's a great opportunity. So I hope we approve this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner?
Hi, good evening. My name is Jonah Besh. I'm the former president of Habitat for Humanity Board and former vice president before that as well. Been on the board of directors now for 12 years and got involved as a financial planner. I had a construction management degree, worked in high-rise, mid-rise construction, and wanted to serve our community by helping use the construction knowledge to help build communities for those in need in our community. One of the things I will add that I don't think we've spoken to is who are our Habitat homeowners that we get. These are people that are already living and working in your community. It's an absolute requirement for everyone that is a Habitat homeowner to have lived or worked in Porter County for at least 2 years prior to this. So we're not bringing people into Porter County. We're addressing the citizens that are already part of our community with these homes. And the quality of the home is fantastic. People have stayed in there for an average of 18 and a half years, which is much higher than the average nationwide average of over 4.5 years for a home. So these are people that are rooted in our community, are going to stay in our community, and are going to be participants where their families are now going to live in safe, affordable housing, that every single dollar that they put into the house goes into equity. A lot of these people for the first time are developing equity with every mortgage payment they make. So I just want to thank you for your consideration of the project. And thank you, and we love working in Portage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for hearing us. My name is Bernie Honer. I'm the project manager, construction director for Habitat. I've been with them for 9 years. I design all the houses. All these houses you see, every house we build is custom. There's no cookie cutter. There's one of these in the world. They're all built. I was a Porter County building inspector, so we build everything above code. Like Luke said, excuse me, we put R60 in the ceiling, going up to R38. The homeowners have a NIPSCO bill of $1,200 a year. So our people get good houses.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If you would go to the podium and then sign the form with the number Z0325.
My name is Roberta Spoljorek. I've lived at our current address at 2212 Chrisman Road for over 30 years. We were there when the old Chrisman School was there, when it burnt in 2005, when they dug holes and covered up the underground tunnel and the foundations. There is asbestos, there is lead. I want to know how this is going to be addressed.
We will answer that once we close the public hearing.
Okay,
Take notes on all the questions anybody has, so we will address them.
okay. All of the homes that have been going up are at least $400,000 to $500,000 in the neighborhood, and something that is $3,000 is bringing their property values down. So I'm against.
Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner?
Okay, my name's Daniel Vickery, and I live at 2212 Chrisman Road in Portage for over 30 years. And the same thing I have is all the asbestos and everything that's been buried out there. There's also an easement that runs on part of my property. How are they gonna address that easement? And the devalue of the other properties in the area and the traffic. And the point of putting 8, 9 homes on 2 acres.
Can you see the parcel, what parcel number you are? Or for your easement? 022. Okay, just so that they would know for, to answer your questions for you.
What parcel?
022. You're just on the north side.
023,
Okay.
all right?
I would need you to sign in and state your name.
I'm not really stating any opinion for or against this project, but I do share concerns with the previous 2 people because I own the commercial building across the way. And I've heard rumors of the asbestos and all that. I'm confused on the process, I guess, and maybe a bunch of these other people are, because we don't do this for a living.
Correct.
You're going to give an approval to proceed or not proceed. How do we find out when you meet behind closed doors or whatever, or with a different group? How do we find out what happens in terms of what the procedures are going to be to remove potential hazardous materials? I think that's the concern that you need to address either, or at least tell us when we can come back and hear about those. So,
And could you state your name?
Harrison Jones.
Hi, my name's Frank Commenda. I live at 2200 Madison Street, right behind the parcel which they want to build this stuff. I've lived in Portage 63 years, I'm sorry. So I've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of changes going on in Portage. Some I like, some I don't like. One of the things that I'm concerned about, which they brought up, I'm not going to bring that up again, was the toxic waste and so forth. I know there's a lot there. I'd like to know who did the removal of that, and I'd like to see the study of that, okay? Then second of all, do you guys realize that, I know you guys maintain that lot, you covered it, you put grass there, and you're cutting it. There's a church down the road. Have you ever drove by there on a Sunday to see how many cars are parked in that lot? Where are those people gonna go? You know, did you put strips up across the streets to see how many cars are going through there when a train goes through there? Because you've got a new subdivision across the tracks with one way in and one way out. There's an awful lot of traffic. Now you're gonna put 8 to 9 more houses in there. I don't think it's feasible. Why don't you make it a parking lot like you did on Hamstrom Road, right there on the corner? You got the rails to trails right there. The church can use it, and the people of the city of Portage can use that also. If you want to build houses or redo houses, why don't you look at the houses around Portage that need to be redone and dump the money into them? There's plenty of those in Portage. We don't need new houses in Portage now. Traffic already is terrible in Portage. So that's about all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. My name is Carla McGann. I live at 2206 Chrisman Road. My family has owned this property for over 100 years, starting with my grandparents, then my father, and now myself. What I'd like to say is that I'd like to know how the process was developed between the mayor and Habitat for Humanities in planning this. I don't know that anybody in our community was consulted on what we'd like to see in the community. It used to be a school with swings and slides, and our kids could go play. I can remember as a small child playing there. Why not make it a trailhead for there's a walking trail right there that's there. You guys put houses there. There's gonna be no place for anybody to park, to get off their bikes and get on the trails. That's 8 more houses in our community doesn't serve us as residents on Chrisman, Madison, Foley, Stormy. All our streets, we're gonna suffer from having 8 more houses there. Just let me give you an example. That new project that just was being worked on Foley, those 16 houses or how many ever there are, potholes have increased on Chrisman Road at an exponential amount. Has the infrastructure in our community been considered in deciding about adding 8 more houses? We've got semis going up and down our street all the time when you used to, if you saw a semi go down the street, you thought, oh, damn, he's lost. He doesn't know where he's going. Now we see construction trucks, we see cement trucks, we see trucks that haul landfill out. It's unbelievable what we're going through now. And you're going to add 8 more houses with 8 more trucks, 8 more construction places. Let me also add one more thing to the community. It's not a safe place to add 8 houses on that corner. I don't know how many of you spend any time at Chrisman and Portage Avenue, but what I can tell you is nearly nobody stops at the stop signs. The traffic is going a minimum of 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. I can also tell you that there are double yellow lines on both Chrisman and Portage Avenue, and people are crossing those all the time. You add 8 more houses with children, and you've just now created yourself another big nightmare. I also want to add one more thing. I don't think you're going to find anybody in this room that doesn't have respect and appreciation for what Habitat Humanity does for people who are starting out. I don't think there's a single person here who would say there's anything wrong with Habitat for Humanity. All I'm saying is, did you look at our community first before you decided that this was a good place to put 8 houses? It's not. It's not good for the people that live there now, and it won't be good for the people that move into those houses. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner?
My name's Harry Barrett. I've lived in Portage all my life. The house that I'm in now, I've lived there since '55. I was 2 years old when my mom and dad moved there from Garrington off of Blake Road, which is part of Portage now. And I can remember going to school at the old Christmas school. I had good memories there. I've seen Portage change so much. I've seen Portage when it did not have a single stoplight. The very first stoplight was at Crispin Road and Highway 20 because the people coming out of Midwest Dill could not get across Highway 20. The traffic is worse and worse. I live at 6215 Federal Avenue. My land butts up against the land they're talking about. I live in, it's on the northwest corner of that lot. When our little subdivision I live in, there's one way in, one way out. When I come out, it's a blind intersection. And with the way the traffic is now, it is very dangerous. There's been times when I think there's nobody coming, I gotta stick the nose of the car out in the middle of the road to see looking west. And the traffic goes 50, 60 miles an hour down through there. Motorcycles they'll stop at the stop sign at Crispin Road and Portage Avenue, and they just hit it and doing about 65 before they get to the railroad tracks. And it's getting worse and worse. I don't want to, and like it's been mentioned, that V1 Church used that for a parking lot. There have been Sundays, the first Sunday they had a church there, I got up and looked out my window, and I wondered what was going on because you could not put another car on that lot. That's how many cars were parked. If they take that away, all those cars are gonna have to be parking on the street, which there's no place to park on the streets. I am against this. I'd rather see it turn into a parking lot. And thank you.
I'm not going to read the letters. Did you all have a chance to read them? And we'll enter the letter from Bill and Dorothy, I want to say that's Kenner, 2207 Chrisman Road, into record as read by the board, and also from Tammy Bell, 6204 Federal Avenue, both in opposition to the development.
So I do have a question.
I am so sorry. I'm sorry, I jumped on. What I have to do first is give the petitioner to answer the questions. I have the whole list.
I have a
Did you
lot-
write them
I
down?
have a lot on my
Okay.
list too, and I feel really awkward with my back to them when I'm addressing them. Would it oppose anybody if I kind of turn around and talk to them? Okay, I don't want to sit there with my back to you guys. Oh, I can stand at the podium. Let's do that. Let's stand at the podium. All right. Can everybody hear me? All right. I want to first say thank you all for coming and doing your civic duty by coming out and speaking your mind, because that's what this is for, right? And I am personally an advocate of that because I feel like that's a good way to get in front of the people that serve the community and have your voice told. So I totally appreciate you guys taking the time actually to be here. Some items to address right off the bat. The school demo. I don't have the report. That's something that's on my mind as well. That has to be cleared up before Habitat will even move forward on a piece of property. There has to be item clearance that the demolition was done properly. I've done a little bit of research myself. I have found the letter that was from Dyer Construction saying how they demoed the property, and whether or not that's really what happened, I don't know. I wasn't there. Some of you were, some of you say you've visually seen things, and that's something that we would have to take up with the city. We would have soil borings done, there would have to be a phase 1 environmental report done. There's a lot of steps in the process that still have to happen before Habitat would even accept this parcel from the city. So I just want to make that clear that Habitat has no intention of going into a toxic site and just putting houses up and saying, not my problem. That's not what we do. We want to be good neighbors, we want to be good community members, we want to be good home builders, and we want to be good advocates for our partner families. So that's absolutely nothing that we would ever, ever do. So I hope that that puts some people's minds at ease. That's something that me and Tom have been working on diligently, trying to get reports and things from files. It was before he was even part of this administration. It was before I even graduated college. So having some hard time digging some stuff up on that. So there was a question about property value. Anytime new construction comes into an area, it's usually beneficial to everybody. You have certain houses that we want diversity in our community, right? So we don't want to put all the $1 million homes next to $1 million homes. We don't want to put all the, well, you can't even find a $100,000 home anymore in Porter County. So a $200,000 home, let's say, next to all the $200,000 homes. You want diversity in a community. So putting a property that is existing, maybe 50, maybe 100 years old, I'm hearing some of these houses are. They have property values. Putting new construction near that increases that property value. Having a property that's higher, say in the $400,000 or $500,000, doesn't decrease because a new construction home came in lower than that. Property value is based on the assessment of the design, the construction quality, the acreage of the parcel. There's a lot of things that go into what makes a value assigned to a property. New construction never decreases property values in an area. It just doesn't happen. And right now, nobody's property values are going down the way the market is going. There was a comment about why don't we go find houses and fix them up. If I could find a house that made sense to buy and put an investment dollar into it and actually gave the homeowner the same quality of home as a new home, I would. But we can't find homes. Find me a $50,000 home that I can go put $100,000 in. You can't find it. You cannot find it.
Public hearing is over with.
Trust me, I look. I'm on the market a lot. I'm looking for those kind of flip houses that we could do that with because the Habitat model is struggling to work right now. I'm having a very hard time getting homeowners in affordable homes because of rising construction costs, because of rising property costs, because of rising appraisal costs. That home that I said appraised for over $300,000 in Valpo was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and it appraised for that. And how do you convince somebody that that's an affordable house? It's a very hard market, and it's a very hard model for us to be doing right now. I appreciate the comments, I do, but there's some education that needs to happen on that. And it's for everybody, the community in general. It's a systematic problem that communities are dealing with right now. Your city governments are scrambling, trying to figure out how to keep affordability, how to keep people from not having to move out of Portage because they can't afford to buy a home here. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we're trying to partner with the city. And that's why we're trying to increase density so we can bring more affordable homes to the community instead of less. Traffic, I can't argue what traffic is currently like over there. I don't live it, you guys do. I sat at a train while I was coming here, and it's aggravating, I know. There's traffic issues all over Porter County. I used to live in Lake County, and that was even worse. It's actually one of the reasons I moved to Porter County, was because I hated the traffic over in Lake County. So I can't really address traffic. That's a citywide issue that Habitat doesn't have any way to fix. It's 8 homes. Most of the people that are potential homeowners only have 1 car per family, so that would be 8 more cars. That's all I can address on that item. The church parking lot, I can't really address. I don't know if the city has an agreement with the church to let them park on that lot. That is not any information that I was given or know, so. About the trailhead, making it into a trailhead, again, that's a city issue. If the city sees that that's the best fit for this parcel, Habitat will understand. We're perfectly fine with creating parks for people. I believe I mentioned in my presentation that there will be an outlot in that back northwest corner that we're more than happy to give back to the Parks Department so that they can put a facility there, either a picnic shelter or a swing set for neighborhood kids so that they can play, anything like that. We're happy to be a part of that as well. Construction traffic, I know it's terrible. I'm in the construction industry. I know it's a pain, but it's temporary. And usually if the roads get torn up, they do get fixed. So construction traffic, again, I don't have any say over when the streets get repaved, so that's not something that Habitat can really help with. Are there more items on your list that I haven't addressed?
Just the process for the abatement of the property, but I really don't think that you could answer that. Maybe we can get some help.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, I think she did address it. There'll be a phase 1 study and core samples, boring samples. That's kind of your step 1 to find out what we have. Because documentation up from when it was tore down states that it was done properly, but we still have to check.
So what comes after phase 1? That's what they want to know.
Well, then we determine whether there's contamination or not. What comes after that really depends on what happens during phase 1.
If there is.
Well, if there is, then it depends on it really depends. I can't give you an answer. It gets remediated, but there's many different ways to remediate and different severities of the contamination. So it could just take emptying or digging up a certain portion of the dirt and placing it with fresh dirt, or it could be, it really depends. It depends on what that phase 1 says.
We learned a lot with Dreswell.
Yes, we did, but there was no liquid, as far as I know, there was no liquid tanks, there were no oil tanks or anything like that. I think it's just asbestos, it's dry material. So.
I think what they're looking at is that they can have a guarantee that the planning department will make them jump through all the hoops until it's done correctly and approved by the state.
Yeah, we have to.
Okay.
I mean, that's just something that's
Habitat
done.
won't take the land
They
from
won't
the
take it.
Habitat will not take the land from the city if abatement is needed. We would require that the city abate the land first, because Habitat does not have the funds to go through abatement, where a municipality can get grants and funding to do that properly.
I think that was their concern, is
Right.
that we would follow that trail
Yeah,
till.
so depending on what happens during phase 1 and boring samples, that It could go anywhere from there, but it could be minor remediation, it could be none, yeah. Or it could be none, so we just don't know, so, but we will find out.
Now I will open it for questions from the commission.
Good evening. Hi. So I did have a question. Having 8 homes on 2 acres seems, for 2 acres, seems a bit, to me, my opinion, a little over congested, especially with the intersection and the traffic concerns that are there. There does seem to be at least 2 lots that would require additional variances if this were to move forward. And my thought is, if you're looking at homeowners with children, you have driveways that are a bit too close to the streets, the potential risk of accidents there, I'm just concerned about that. And so I'm just asking, where did the number 8 come from versus something less? I know the houses north of Chrisman are on larger lots. They may, even further north, they can be up to an acre for one house. I think there's one on Old Porter Ave in Chrisman that is actually, I think, 2 acres. So to me, knowing the landscape there on Chrisman Road, it just concerns me, where did the 8 houses come from?
Sure.
How was that determined?
Well, if you look, the original proposed plat was actually 9 homes, 9 lots right there. You can actually see the little dashed lines of when it was actually platted way back when. So honestly, we went through a couple renditions. We thought about trying to put a street in, but the city and Habitat both didn't want to spend money on funding a street construction and having to do a cul-de-sac back there. That actually would have given us almost 10 lots. So basically, we tried to do the least amount of infrastructure because Habitat is trying to be a good conservative partner with our donors and using the funds economically. So the most economical design was to line the homes along Portage Ave and Chrisman, much like all the existing homes are already lined across Portage Ave and Chrisman. If you go up and down Portage Ave, there's a ton of homes all over there. If you head down to Swanson and, what is that down there, McCool and all of Stone Avenue, all of them down there, they all have homes that front Portage Ave. We would be required to use the same setbacks as all of those homes, so they'd be set back as far as those current homes are as well. So that's really where the design came from, to get the 8 homes. We're trying to maximize the acreage. You have to think about potential partner families as well, or future homeowners. They've never owned a home before. They don't know what lawn maintenance is like, so we cannot give them an acre parcel to try and manage. It takes economic means to manage a parcel that size, so we try to keep lots small. We want them to be able to make it work. We don't want them to get bogged down with having to figure out how they're going to cut their acre of grass that they have. So we do try to keep homeowners on small parcels. It's more manageable for a new homeowner to be on a smaller parcel. It actually creates community by keeping the homes closer together. We try to make sure that our partner families know that they're supported. So we are excited about putting multiple partner families next to each other that have been through the same process of home ownership and sweat equity. So we are excited about doing a little neighborhood. We've never done that. Porter County has never done a little neighborhood like this before. So we were excited about that. So again, it's all in the planning process. This was just the first step, is to see if we can actually even make it work. You know, the economics of putting the infrastructure in for these homes, we have to calculate that out too. I think it's coming up around an expense of about $30,000 to $35,000 per lot. So once you start going with fewer lots, it becomes more expensive per lot. And then the investment for Habitat doesn't make sense. It doesn't make us good stewards of our donor dollars once we start getting into fewer lots and the same cost. So we need to make sure that we're using our donor dollars as good stewards of that. So just trying to make, you're kind of on one of those curves where trying to get that intersection of where the cost and where the ramification and the justification comes into play for that. So that's where it came from.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
You have volunteers that build your homes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How long does it take to build one house?
Depends on how fast Bernie pushes me. We've done it in 6 months before, and we've stretched it out to about 11 months before, depending on time of year too, whether we get winter, weathered in before the winter and we can keep working, whether we have to kind of stall out.
You can build 8 homes with volunteers.
We will not build all 8 at one time. We would probably do, at first, 2 a year. Again, donor dollars make a big difference on what we can accomplish. Something to know about Porter County, my 2 only staff members are in the room here, and Bernie is full-time, and my other staff member, Sheriff, is part-time. And that is the only paid staff that our Porter County affiliate has. I'm a volunteer. Our other volunteers are unpaid. So we do everything. We're a volunteer board-run organization. And so we do as much as we can with what we have as fast as we can do it, and as fast as partner families line up for us to do it too. So we have been averaging, Porter County used to only do 1 house a year. We've been trying to move into the 2 house a year average. COVID kind of backed us down. We had hit it. And then with COVID, we kind of went to like 1.5 per year. With this development, we were hoping to ramp up to 2, and if we had the partner families and the donor dollars to back it, we were hoping to grow to maybe 3 a year. So we do 2 the first year, and then we do 3 the second year, and then 3 the third year. So it would be a 3 to 4 year process overall of trying to get this accomplished.
I have a lot of questions, but my
Okay.
first one, Tom, this is for the city. Are there any contingency plans in place in case there is contamination in the soil? Like, would the city be able to back out of the agreement, or are they going to be obligated to make the remediation?
Well, no matter what, it's our property, so we're obligated to remediate. Very similar to another property nearby that's under construction right now.
But if it was directly to your question, does this transaction require us to remediate it in today's time? No. To Tom's question, he's right. We own it. We eventually are gonna have, if it requires remediation,
Right.
we would eventually be required to do that.
The reason why I was asking, because I know other parcels in town that developers have bought, they spent the money to clean up the contamination with the IDEM and things like that because of previous gas stations or whatever, and now something's going to be built there. So it wasn't city funds that went ahead and spent that. That's why I asked that there's a contingency that if it comes back that it's some insane dollar amount that we have the right to say, okay, we just can't afford to do this, to move forward.
Yeah, those decisions, I mean, we just don't know. I mean, yeah.
And Habitat wouldn't force you to do that either if it was something
I know, but
astronomical.
I know how real estate contracts work, so
Yeah,
it's like
right.
some things
Yeah.
can be enforced unless you have certain contingencies in place, so
No.
that's why I was asking on that.
Either side can back out at this point.
Now, for you guys, when it comes to these homes, you said something that costs about $260 or so to build one house, correct?
Mhm.
Now, if you know the cost of building homes. Sorry. What size are these homes? Like, are you meeting the R4 zoning, or are you meeting more like, is it more of an R2 style home that's gonna go on an R4 lot?
It would be a mix, obviously. So, like Bernie said, we don't have cookie cutter floor plans. We find our partner families, we find out what their needs are. Sometimes it's a single mom with 4 kids. Sometimes it's 2 teenagers that are opposite gender and 2 toddlers. So obviously, bedrooms become an issue, right? So we have to take that into consideration. Sometimes it's a traditional family model. Sometimes it's 2 parents, 2 kids, and you can make a normal 3-bedroom house work. Sometimes we serve single individuals. We've done 1 home for a single individual, so it was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. So it just depends on the partner families that we get, that we appropriately size their homes for. Habitat does have guidelines, so we can adjust the home based on the need and the guidelines. We, as Habitat of Porter County, traditionally build anywhere from 1,000 to, let's say, 1,600 square foot homes. You know, we're trying to keep them affordable. We're keeping them manageable for a homeowner to actually have. We don't want to build them a 3,000 square foot house that they don't know how to maintain. So we would stick within the R4. I think it allows us to go down to 960. We only have to do that when we're only building a 2-bedroom house.
Okay.
So on average, I would say, I mean, we're planning one right now over in, what is that in the neighborhood, the Trails? And it's going to be a 1,200 square foot house. So it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, typical, very typical for that community. It's going to fit right in. So it varies, but we do have guidelines that Habitat International asks us to kind of lean on. And
Now, the renderings that I saw, there's no stone, there's no anything on those. Are you guys do you plan on having stone on the facade? Like, because right now they're very plain, like
we
looking.
traditionally, in the past, have done just vinyl siding. We are getting a little more adventurous with trying to put some stone wainscot on. I believe the one in Blackstone to fit into the neighborhood, we're going to do that. Again, if I get a donor that wants to provide me with some stone to put on the house, I'd gladly put it on. We have career tech kids that come out. It'd be a great learning opportunity for them. We can get a mason out there to teach them how to lay brick or how to put the little lick and stick stone up. It'd be a great opportunity for them. So I can't commit to anything above what the zoning ordinance asks me to do, but I can definitely try. And if you all know people who want to donate some stuff, I'd gladly take that.
So everything's donated? All
Not
the
everything.
materials? Okay.
No, not
'cause-
everything.
yeah.
It's just anything above and beyond. Like, we don't put luxury. We put plastic laminate countertops in. We put, you know, we actually had we have a great partnership with Von Tobel. Sometimes they're able to get us kitchen cabinets from their design studios that, you know, they're changing out their stuff in their store. So they like, hey, we have this kitchen. So we'll design an entire kitchen around those cabinets, you know, or we have people out in Ogden Dunes that call us and say, I'm remodeling my kitchen. Do you want to come get my cabinets? So we go and we grab those cabinets. So we've been lucky to have some really nice kitchens in our homes, but we don't go above and beyond what would be considered affordable materials. So to say, hey, I'm going to spend an extra $3,000 on a brick face for the house, and then that transfers into the homeowner's mortgage. Yeah. Sure. But it's still money I have to put on their mortgage, right? And when I have a homeowner, so here's the other part of the financial model you may not understand. When a homeowner signs up, we put them into a financial calculator, and just to use rough numbers, say their salary debt-to-income ratio says that they can afford a $150,000 house. Their first mortgage will be $150,000. Anything above and beyond that goes into a second mortgage that Habitat holds. And over the course of the 30 years, as long as they're current on their payments and keep to their partnership agreement, we forgive that over time. So everything that I put in above and beyond what a homeowner can handle in their mortgage is on Habitat. So that is donated. So yes, we are selling a house at market value, but the first mortgage is based off affordability. The second mortgage, which gets forgiven over time, and if they stay in their house all 30 years, that second mortgage is completely forgiven. If they sell previous to that, it comes out of the equity, and there's a big math calculation that even I don't understand that goes into that. Yeah, so So there is a consideration, and to be good stewards of donor dollars, we have to make sure that we're consistent on what we give homeowners and that we're consistent in what we're putting into the homes. I can't add luxury items that maybe we all consider to be day-to-day things, but for an affordable home, it's not considered that. And there are guidelines that Habitat International has that we need to adhere to as well, things like that, that get into other items. But, I mean, air conditioning used to be considered a luxury item until about 10 years ago. We were not mandated to put air conditioning in a Habitat house, but because of our climate, we do. So just like garages, we're not mandated by Habitat International to put a garage, but we know that in our climate zone, if somebody goes out and their car can't start, or they're under 2 feet of snow and they can't get to work, they don't make their mortgage payment. So to have a garage makes sense.
So how do you guys select the partners? Because I know right now it's very difficult for any young kid to go purchase a house. Like,
Yep.
I mean, homes that were $1,000 a month 5 years ago are $2,200 a month
Yeah.
today, and the kids just can't afford it. I see it every day.
So do we.
So how do
And
you
it's
guys
not just
partner
kids.
with these people in general, and how do you pick that?
We have an application process. We just went through one. There's a financial component. They have to be, I believe we're within 60 to 80% of the median average income is our sweet spot. We have the ability to go a little under, a little over, depending on credit and things like that. Debt to income ratio calculates into that. They have to be willing to partner with us, which means they have to be willing to put in their sweat equity hours. And that's 250 sweat equity hours for anyone over the age of 18 in the family. So on top of work, on top of everything else, they have to give 250 hours. Now that can be education, that can be volunteering on another home, that can be volunteering on their home. We have some people that come into the office and help us file and answer phone calls, clean the office, all sorts of ways that we get those sweat equity hours in, but they have to be able to do that. And they also have to have a need for housing, which means that they are either in a financial situation where they are overpaying. Like you said, they should be paying $1,000 a month based on their income level, and they're stuck paying $1,600 a month, which just sets them up for failure, right? Or they have to be in an unsafe or unclean place that they're living. Maybe they're living in a moldy basement. Maybe they're living in somebody's attic. Maybe they're living in a place where they've been broken into 5 times in the last month. We've got those too. So there has to be a need for affordable and safe housing.
So I have a question after hearing the conversation and dialogue that went on. And I commend what you do. It's admirable. I mean, as somebody from the audience stated, there's no denying that what you do is of need to the community. But looking at the actual location of where you want to do this particular community development, it sounds like, and if I get this wrong, then, please speak out, but it sounds like since there's a lot of material that's being donated, there really isn't a true continuity of what the houses will be, since you're designing them based on the family in need, versus how a developer would then propose to us the conceptual plan of what each house would be in their development, just as a comparison. So the differences in the inconsistency of the homes, what then is the likelihood of that reducing the property values of the homes that are across the street that are more designed with a certain plan or a certain target audience of who that is going to be purchasing in that home?
Yeah.
So how is it that you can foresee what type of consistency or inconsistency, because it sounds like there's a lot of inconsistency of what those homes will be since you're designing them around specific families.
Well, would somebody please turn that around? Thank you. I mean, we're pretty consistent. If you look at the homes, and those are there's a 2-bedroom home. The upper right corner is a 2-bedroom home. The other one below it, I think, is a 4-bedroom home, the tri-level. And then the other ones are 3-bedroom homes. So aesthetically, and I think that's what you're talking about, is how do we keep the aesthetics consistent? Bernie does a great job. I'm actually an architect, and Bernie kicks me out of the design a lot, unless I force my way in. So we do care about aesthetics for the home. We've been actually working a great deal on making sure that these aesthetically fit in with the neighborhoods that we're building in. So we do take those aesthetics into consideration. There's a zoning ordinance that tells us what materials we are required to use. So that's the city that stipulates the material usage, right? Of right now, I don't believe that Portage has stone or siding or not siding, but brick or anything as a requirement in any of them. So we are not required to do those things, but I do understand the aesthetics. And that is what we're trying to do, is we want to be good neighbors. We don't want to decrease anybody's property value. You know, that's not our goal. We want you to be able to drive down the road and not be able to pick out the Habitat house. That we don't want to stick out like a sore thumb in the community. So we definitely go above and beyond trying to make sure that we don't. And that's by doing quality construction. That's by doing aesthetically pleasing homes. If you look in a lot of neighborhoods around Portage, they're all siding. A lot of them don't have brick or stone. And we can look just like those houses, and we can be beautiful just like those houses. So there's different little tricks that we try to do by adding, you know, gables and porches and trim work that add to the aesthetics of the home. We do landscaping in front of the home, all those kinds of things to try and blend in with our neighbors.
Thank you.
Okay, I got another one.
Okay.
Because I was looking at the layout, how it was set up, like, I think it was like 3 or 4 lots and then a long lot, because that road, that house was going to be on Portage Ave and then coming across in the corner. But at one point you said that you guys also looked at putting in a road with a cul-de-sac or a court, right? What's the, like, is it like a substantial difference to put that in to where, because I'm just thinking like if riding on bike or something like that, you know, whatever.
Sure.
You know, dead end road to court, like that's good for families or whatever. Is it like a massive change to put in like that road in court?
Yeah, I think when we looked at it, it was roughly around $300,000 to put in a road on top of the infrastructure with the utilities and everything else.
So there's no sewer lines ran there, NIPSCO water, like none of that's ran on Chrisman, Portage Ave that you can tie in? There's no sewer ties anywhere?
I'll let my engineer talk.
So Chrisman School was serviced by sanitary sewers. The main trunk line for the city of Portage is in the easement that the gentleman brought up earlier that runs north of this parcel. There is a stub that is going to be sufficient to serve 8 houses, no problem. It used to serve the school, who had hundreds of people there at some time and flush the toilet all at the same time. So we won't have that peak demand like we had there. As for potable water, there is a water main along Portage Avenue on the north side, and there is a water main on the east side of Crispin that we can bring services to for these 8 lots. As for stormwater and infrastructure of that nature, when it was a school, it was 90% covered with asphalt and building. We're going way below that. And with the new city standards that are in place with detention and retention, we're going to meet and exceed those as well.
Since you mentioned detention, are you aware of any outfalls that you could tie into that pond that's going to be located in the northwest corner?
We are in the midst of designing a pipe to go under Portage Avenue and tie into the pond on the south side of Portage Avenue.
Will there be any storm structures located within the subdivision other than the pond? For example, like lot 5?
Just the outfall structure and a pipe to going south to the, under the road to the pond. We haven't got to the full engineering aspect of it, being that this is the first phase of being able to find out if we can even get zoning.
Tom, you might want to correct me. I believe there was early talks of extending that Iron Horse Trails up through Crimson, west on the railroad tracks and into Berlin's. Does that have to be taken into consideration when we decide what to do with this lot? Because I don't know if the path is going to be on the east or west side of Crimson.
The path it's been talked about in a few different areas. It's not set in stone yet, so we don't know.
I have a question. I drive that road quite often, so I know how the traffic goes. Have you looked at the alternate plan that the city has put in front? Have you seen that? A different plan where it's all interior instead of all the homes coming off on Portage Ave. Okay. I have a plan. Dina, do you know where this plan came from? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Does it have a street on it?
Was that the original sketch that we talked about?
I can't hear you.
Is that the original sketch that I was talking about when we talked about doing a road with a cul-de-sac? Oh,
Oh, okay. I apologize. I thought this was a different conceptual plan. My fault totally. But I do have to agree that with the homes coming out on Portage Ave and Crispin Road, that's just something that is very difficult.
I don't disagree that a road would be great if someone can find me some funds to do it. I'd be happy to. As I said, Habitat is a non-for-profit. We're not road builders, we're home builders.
Right.
So that would have to be a different partnership discussion amongst us in the city.
Other questions?
I just have a comment. I live on Portage Avenue, and I understand the traffic that we all deal with. And Chrisman School, the toxic and toxins that were in it. And we have an established church on that road that uses that to park cars. So we have to think about all this when we make our decision.
Does the church not have parking? I thought there was a big parking lot behind it.
They do have parking. We gave them temporary permission to use it, but they're going to have to find a long-term.
Yeah, and before.
It's not going to be a parking lot.
Yeah. And before they started parking there, they parked up and down the neighborhoods. So blocking driveways, I've seen it firsthand over and over again. They parked up on the grass, they parked on the curbs. Getting through there was a nightmare. So it's just something to think about.
Do you have developments that you're in process of building now that are R2?
Do I have any? We don't have a home.
Are you developing other homes that are considered R2 zoning?
We will be on Blackstone, yes. It's an already parceled lot, though, within a subdivision that we are building on, or going to be building on.
Is there a possibility of just keeping this zoning R2 and developing it as that?
I mean, it can be developed as R2 right now as we speak. We wouldn't have to be here. The whole point is to try and increase the density to spread the cost over more homes and get a better value for the dollars and investment that Habitat was going to put into it. So to answer your question, yes, Habitat or anyone else that the city wanted to sell or donate the land to could build 6 homes on that piece of property as we speak today. Yes.
wouldn't doing that will alleviate some of the issues, like the backing into the Portage Avenue, in the street, and some of the other stuff, because they were talking about variances that you will have to go through
The
for
way
some
we
of the
have,
driveways.
no, the way we have the lots laid out, we wouldn't need any variances. Richie and I went through that pretty extensively to make sure that we wouldn't need those, so.
Okay, that was
But-
in our staff findings that was presented to us.
Okay, that
I
hasn't
don't know
come
if
up,
that's still
so,
applied.
yeah, it hasn't
I
come
think
up yet
it's
to
50
us,
feet from
so.
an intersection. And I'm not sure, like, I think lot 5,
Okay,
depending on orientation.
yeah, I think if we face it the other way, we're okay, so, yeah. Yeah, we do a side load garage on that one, so.
Just getting at that there's a few issues that people brought up, the value of their homes that are being diminished because of the size of the home, not the people coming in, the size of them. Because you guys do a wonderful thing. I stand, you know, yes, you do great things.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything
Well,
you're
thank you,
doing.
yeah.
I don't want to be, I'm not against this idea.
Yeah.
I just like for it to see it work for our
Sure,
community.
we would love to make sure that it works for the community as well, but at 6 homes, the infrastructure dollars we have to put in pushes us over what we generally will spend per lot to make that happen, so then we run into a funding issue. So unfortunately, I have to be really conservative with funding dollars, which is why I'm here, right? Now, am I saying it kills the deal? I don't know. I'd have to go back. I have a board that I have to report to. I have a board that has to make all the decisions. So I can't tell you today, yes, I'll agree to do only 6. I don't have that wherewithal to say that. Again, on the property value issue, the home I told you that appraised for $300,000 or $300,000 in Valpo was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I don't think property values are going to be an issue no matter what size we put on here. Appraisals are up right now, so, and that's not going to decrease anytime soon. So I really, really want to press on this whole property value issue. We're not decreasing anybody's property value. We never have. Habitat homes always appraise very well. We build very nice homes. Property values are not an issue. Oh, yeah. Richie just brought up that I do have a record from 2000 that R4 was actually approved on this parcel back then. So at some point, the city thought that an R4 approval of this property was appropriate, but cities change and city dynamics change, so. But
Any other questions? If not, may I have a motion?
Yeah, remember, this is a favorable or unfavorable recommendation to city council. This still will go to city council.
Tom, are there any things that we need to add as contingencies, like some of the variances that possibly
This
could
is
happen?
strictly a zoning change, and we can only say favorable or unfavorable recommendation.
I make a motion for an unfavorable recommendation for a zoning change on this particular property for Habitat for Humanity.
I second.
We have a motion and a second.
Melissa Weidenbach,
Yes.
Brent Wright,
No.
Sam LeBoy,
No.
Deb Ekdahl,
Yes.
Denise Little,
Yes.
Victoria Vasquez,
Yes.
Alonzo Garcia.
Yes.
thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
are my hero. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Next order of business, P-04-25, Lennar Homes of Indiana Incorporated, care of Todd A. Leith, Leith Law LLC, 2700 Valparaiso Street, number 2412, Valparaiso, Indiana, seeking primary plat approval of Swanson Trails Plan Development for 225 lots, consisting of approximately 80 acres, plus or minus, along the southwest corner of Swanson Road and 700 North up to Kingman Avenue.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Todd Leith. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner in this matter, Lennar Homes of Indiana. Luke Fricke from Lennar joins me to help explain our request tonight. Trevor Murphy from Manhard Consultants is the design professional for this project and is here at the table as well. We have others from both Lennar and Manhard to assist as well. So as was indicated, this is a property, I think you're well familiar with it. We were here earlier in the year for a PUD rezoning. So the subject property is bordered on the east side by Swanson and on the south by County Road 700 North. And the red boundary is the boundary of the property. You can see a large number of trees in the property, and that was a real issue in the design of the subdivision. As I indicated, it was rezoned earlier this year to PUD. So Portage calls it a PD, or a PUD is the moniker most common associated with these kinds of projects. So this is a development that we used a tool in planning to design a subdivision around the property rather than having the zoning ordinance dictate what happens on this 80 acres. So recognizing the desires of Lennar, knowing what the homeowners want, smaller lots, community amenities, and what the community wants and the neighbors, preservation of those trees primarily, we designed something that fit all of those, we think, concerns, and came up with a design that resulted in a ordinance which includes a preliminary development plan. It's a 20-plus page document, and it is the zoning ordinance. In short, sweet terms, it's a zoning ordinance that applies only to this 80 acres. So the PD process is 4 steps. We are now at step 3. The first 2 steps were the zoning process, where we adopted the zoning ordinance. 1, you heard the case and made a recommendation to the city council. The city council accepted your recommendation and adopted the ordinance that includes this plan. Those were the first two steps. Now we've moved on, and we're at what I'm referring to as the subdivision process. It feels like a subdivision petition, and that's essentially what it is. We call it a development plan in the law, but it's really a subdivision plat. And it's no longer conceptual. Through all of that earlier process, we had pretty pictures, and I'm going to show you that pretty picture that you approved in the development plan. We're past that. That's why Trevor's here, because this is an engineer, and he's designed the subdivision to be consistent with what was conceptual before. Now it's down to the nitty-gritty. It's down to details, down to engineering. So this was the conceptual plan, and it showed 225 homes. 86 of those units or homes were 63 by 125, and 139 were 50 by 120. And those were north and south. That's oriented left and right on this slide, separated by, frankly, those woods. And as you can see, we've preserved, not all of them, but about 2/3 of that tree stand is preserved. In a normal subdivision, any developer could, under the R2 zoning that the property had, could have clear-cut and built homes throughout the entire 80 acres. So now that conceptual plan that was part of the PD is turned into a primary plat. It's a development plan, and we have that now. It's 5 pages of engineered drawings, essentially, and I've blown up the heart of it, and I've oriented it like the conceptual plan. Does it look familiar? Well, it should, because it's the same number of lots, 225. The orientation of 86 and 139 lots is the same. It's the same tree preservation area. It's the same street layout. The open space is still 33%, and it's got the same amenities. This plat conforms and matches the conceptual plan that was attached to the PD. It's just now engineered. We tied it down to match what is essentially subdivision standards for the city. So now that we've had it engineered, it's had a full staff review. Not only has your staff looked at it, but it's gone to DRC. And you can tell we had an original submission, and we got some comments. We turned it around and made a second submission. We got more comments. We made a third submission. And today we got a staff report that had 9 contingencies. Frankly, I believe that some of those contingencies were incorporated in the staff report because not all precincts had reported. I don't think that your professional staff had heard from all of the different agencies of the city. And I think Mr. Cherry's going to address that. I have a letter from Trevor that addresses each of those 9 things, but I think we can safely say that based upon those very detailed reviews and our answers and responses to it, that we've been very responsive in working with the city to get all of the details, and none of them are light. I'm not suggesting that they're to be overlooked, but we've been very responsive to get those all taken care of, and we will. And if we have to have a contingency at the end of the day tonight, that's perfectly fine. We're not asking for any relief or for you to overlook something. Again, the contingencies are 9. One of those was an agreement for off-site storm improvements. Didn't realize that that was going to be a contingency, so we already had that. It's already signed. It's not recorded, so perhaps the contingency is that this get recorded, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But we have the document, and once we get once we get the approval, then we can close, and the plat and the easement get recorded. that is our request, is to approve the development plan, which feels like and really is a subdivision plat on primary approval. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have or those that come from the hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody, do you want to speak for? Okay. And I'm sorry, I have to ask you to sign in on the paper. And it would be for P0425. Sam, maybe you want to help him?
I think you're signing the wrong one. PTO25, right?
Yeah.
This one.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you a question.
Direct your questions to the board once you're
And then we will answer them. So you know what, on the north, south, east, or west, what he was pointing to?
Bring up 25.16, 25.17, 25.18.
I do.
Okay.
I understand.
Sir, I'm going to come look at your paper real quick for you.
These are the numbers I'm going to talk about involved them.
Okay.
When you get 85, you get over, you get this way. 87, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, and those are ordinances, so we can, Mr. Leaf, he can address them for you. They're 25-16, 25-17, and 25-18.
Yeah.
So we will have that questions answered for you.
Can you answer that one with that big line?
We will answer that too, as soon as we get through the public hearing for you.
Oh, but, you know.
And we'll
Can-
do them all at the same time.
Can we clarify what the question is regarding the
Okay,
ordinances?
so the other one was, which strip did you want to know about?
Kingman Avenue.
Where is it going?
It's Kingman, but we will,
Is that in your plans?
not right now, but we'll answer that question for you. We're trying to put them all together.
Okay.
Here's your papers.
Can we clarify a question regarding the ordinances? I don't know what question he's asking.
He was asking what was passed in ordinances 25-16, 25-17, and 25-18. Mr. Leaf thinks he knows what they are. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If not, I close the public hearing.
Did everyone have a chance to read the letter I passed out beginning
Yes.
of the meeting? R. Sullivace from Hobart, Indiana on 700 North. So I want to read. in opposition to that, so I want to read that in, as read by the board.
Okay. That'll be recorded, and now I close the public hearing. Can you go ahead and answer his questions?
I will do my best. So the white line that the gentleman was pointing to is Kingman Avenue. Kingman Avenue is in the subdivision on the east side of Swanson, and our design is to match that intersection and extend Kingman Avenue through our property all the way to the western property line as an extension. Your ordinance encourages and/or requires us to do that, to match roads on the major thoroughfare, as well as provide access to undeveloped properties around us. So we've done that with Kingman Avenue. So that is an extension of Kingman Avenue through our development, through Swanson Trails.
Okay, just so you understand that the city requires that road to be open. We're not in public hearing anymore, but the city requires them to do that. It's part of our planning department. Well, we will have Mr. Leith explain the ordinances also for you.
So the 2516, 2517, and 2518, I believe the gentleman is referring to the three ordinances. 2518 is the ordinance that adopted or created the PUD for this property. And it is the same ordinance that incorporates that 20-plus page document that is the zoning ordinance for this 80 acres. That's 2518. However, my understanding is that under your rules, in order to get from the R2 to a PUD, we had to, what I referred to as, do some stair-step rezoning. So we went from R2 to another zoning classification before we went to PUD. And that's why we have 2516 and 2517. Those were stair-step ordinances as we went through the process to get to 2518, which is the PUD.
So just to shorten it up, those were the steps required by the city of Portage. Okay, and city of Portage required that also, so. Okay, we'll have to talk to you after the meeting if you have any questions, because the public hearing is closed.
I ain't worried about my land, you know.
Okay.
I'm not involved with that. There's mine.
Okay, they were required to do it. So if you have questions, we can have somebody answer those for you.
You know?
After the meeting.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Okay. Now I will open to questions from the commission.
So before we start the questions, I just wanted to clarify the contingencies are narrowed down to number 5 and 6. Number 7 was the same as 5, so we're down to 5 and 6. And the additional comment that I believe you have from Snyder regarding the force main. So those three. So some engineering issues, so. Attorney Leith, do you have that Snyder comment sheet?
I don't think we do. So contingencies 5 and 6 would be acceptable to the petitioner. If I understand, that's what we're down to.
Okay,
5 and 6 and the one comment from Snyder
Oh, and plus Nguyen.
regarding the valve.
Okay,
Seems like a technical issue, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
yep, and that one's fine too.
okay, could you just state those for our records here?
So number 5 is to verify the existing downstream sanitary sewer capacity with Portage Utilities. Number 6 is Portage Utilities to approve lift station design, details, and calculations. The new one is sanitary department approval of the off-site force main air release valve design. And so those are 3 contingencies that would be acceptable to the petitioner.
Open to questions from the commission?
Quick question. Was that common response you just received the ones you were asking about in the morning when we talked on the phone? Is that what that is? I believe the memo sheet you were given just outlines those comments, so everything should still be with you guys. I don't think you guys are missing any information.
If there are no additional questions, may I ask for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve a primary plat with the continuancies stated earlier, number 5 and 6 on our sheets, and the additional memo that was sent.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Victoria's second. Mr. Cherry, could you call roll?
Melissa Weidenbach,
No.
Brent Wright,
Yes.
Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Deb Ekdahl,
Yes.
Denise Little,
Yes.
Victoria Vasquez,
Yes.
Alonso Garcia.
Yes.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.